See, like, sometimes, like, I think about it and I'm like, did I do that on purpose? Or do I just naturally, like, I want my voice to sound normal for these things, so let me clear my throat. But I think I do it on purpose, and then I'm like, yeah, that was good. I got my throat cleared. That's not the point, though. The point is that today, in light of Quentin Tarantino being a sexual offender, and me being sad about that because, A, I love him, and B, I wanted to see a Quentin Tarantino-helmed Star Trek movie, I went back and watched my favorite Star Trek movie, which just so happens to be Star Trek Into Darkness. I've only seen 5. I've seen the motion picture, Wrath of Khan, Star Trek Into Darkness, and then Star Trek Beyond. And this is by far my favorite. I remember loving this movie ever since I saw it on May 16th, 2013, on my dad's birthday. I adore this movie, and I don't understand the backlash. So it was voted by Star Trek fans as the worst Star Trek movie, which I saw the motion picture, and that is a miserable movie. It's awful. Nothing happens. It's so boring. There's just external shots of the ship for like 5 minutes straight. It's like a ghost story, but it's not sad. Like, it is a miserable movie. And you think this fun, interesting action thriller is boring? Is bad? Like, are you kidding me? No. I think it's the same thing as Star Wars fans hating The Last Jedi. Like, Star Wars fans are this is exactly like Star Trek. Wow. Because it takes something that originally happened, and it puts a twist on it, and people are like, no, don't touch my Star Wars. Don't touch my Star Trek. Which I get it. So, like, but the opposite here. Whereas I was a huge Star Wars fan, and I love Star Wars The Last Jedi for being new and different, I'm less of a Star Trek fan, and I loved the new movie for being new and different. Like, I think I just like new and different. Because I saw Wrath of Khan, and Wrath of Khan's good, and I get it, and the iconic scenes are great and iconic. But this is just, I feel like it's a better movie. It's so much more interesting and well-paced, and, like, I get it, and, like, I had no idea what was happening in Wrath of Khan. And it was because it was so boring. But, yeah, I just adore Star Trek Into Darkness. I think Chris Pine is amazing as Kirk. I think his whole character arc that he goes on is nicely wrapped up, and you see so much growth in his character in this movie. I love Pike's great as usual. Zachary Quinto as the Spock is just great. Is his Khan as good as William Shatner's Khan? No, but it's still great, and I love him. He's perfect as Spock. He's a perfect Spock. I think he's even better than Leonard Nimoy, if I'm being honest. What else is great about this movie? Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Benedict Cumberbatch. Okay, so I know the whole thing before this movie. I wasn't a part of the big controversy beforehand. I wasn't really following it. But, like, the whole thing was like, oh, they're making a movie about Khan, and then J.J. Abrams was like, who did a great job directing this, by the way. It's like, no Khan. And then, like, we all knew it was Khan, and then in the movie he goes, I am Khan. And you're like, yeah, we all knew that was coming. Like, that's not really a twist. I feel like you just said it's Khan. Just call him Khan. You know, I feel like that would have been so much of a better... I don't know. I feel like maybe if you, like, watch this movie as, like... I don't think there's any way to get around it, that twist. Like... but, like... Like, maybe if you just sat... Like, you didn't even know you were watching a Star Trek movie and it just came out, right? Then maybe it'd be better, but, like... I get it. I get why, though. But yeah, I think Benedict Cumberbatch was amazing. What a great, memorable villain that we have here. Like, he's so fantastic. And yeah, he's cheesy, but I love that. He's just so evil, but you get it. You get why he's evil. Like, he revels in being evil, but, like, you know he's evil because he's doing it for his family. But the standout performance of this movie is Carl Urban. He is so funny. I love Bones. He's the most relatable and, like, human character in these movies. And, you know, he's just like me and you, you know? He's like, he's just the guy that we're following. But he's not annoying, though. Like, you know, in the first movie, he starts as like a drunk, and he just goes because his wife divorced him. Like, that's why he joined Starfleet. And then this movie, like, he's like a good doctor. At the end of it now, he's a good doctor. And he is just so funny, and he's such a great character. He keeps Chris Pine honest. He like, his repertoire with Spock is great. The whole movie's about him and Spock and beyond, which that I loved. But yeah, like he just kept coming up with all these like weird little metaphors throughout the whole movie. He's like, you just sat that man down in a high stakes poker game with no cards and told him to bluff, and like, you're like, that makes complete sense. Like, but like, that was so accurate. Or what about the other one? He's like, you don't rob a bank when the getaway car has a... See, I always love talking to people on the phone, but then people call me while I'm doing my review, and I'm like, stop calling me. I'm trying to talk about my movie, and I get like really into it, and I'm mad when I'm like, oh, I got 5 minutes in, now I have to restart the whole thing, but I'm not. I'm going to keep going. So Karl Urban's great. Zoe Saldana is fine. I mean, no, she's good. She's really good. I think her whole plot with her and Spock is great, like how she's like, yeah, but what about us? And then they ruin it in the next movie by having them break up, but whatever. But yeah, that's great. Sulu is so great when he becomes captain. That was such a cool scene. Simon Pegg is fantastic. He's has so much personality and adds so much to these movies. And then, what was it? You got Scotty, played by Alton Yenshin, or something like that. And he's great, too. Everyone's great. These movies are great. The only person I think could have been better... No, I think even Peter Wayland? No, that's the guy in Alien who creates the robots, but Peter something. The guy who's in RoboCop plays the bad guy in this movie, but it's not Khan, and he's good. I liked him. Let me move on. Directed, it's well directed. I love J.J. Abrams. I think he made a fantastic movie. I think he's a fantastic director. I love him. Lens flares and all. He's a funny director too. Like, this movie's just so fantastic. The opening sequence, the first 9 minutes of Star Trek Into Darkness, are beautiful. They released it in front of The Hobbit. I remember the year prior, and I get why. Because, if I saw this... Well, actually, no. I'd be pissed if I went and saw this scene and then watched the whole movie, because, like, that's such a... That's the best scene in the movie. I feel bad, because it's actually the best part. It's kind of like Speed Racer in a way, where it's, like, the first 15 minutes are better than the rest of the movie. Kind of. But, like... Oh, man. It starts off when they're on some indigenous, like old people, like old, what's it called? Like caveman planet, right? And it's beautiful. It's all red. And they show you little shots of aliens and they're there's the aliens are running them with with spears. And then like at first you're like, who don't know who that is? And then like a monster shows up and you're like, it's Chris Pine. And it's Karl Urban too, and they make a little joke. And then there's the whole like crux of the movie is introduced there, where it's like, Kirk's judgment call, like to go save Spock, and the whole thing where like Karl Urban's like he'd let you die, and like Kirk's like, but Kirk, that's why Kirk's different. Like they're complete opposites. Kirk goes and saves him at the end, and like it's so fantastic. And then Spock gets all mad, and they're like, "What's the worst that could happen?" And then the indigenous people are like carving out the like. What's it called? The Starship Enterprise on their like in the sand, like that's their new god now. And I was like, that's so great, because it interferes with the like principles of like why they're like Starfleet. Like they're not supposed to alter their path or whatever. And then when what was it? When Spock goes, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. I'm like, yes, that's what he says in the original one. And like, but it applies here, and it makes sense. And like. Oh yeah, so let's go on to like how the whole Khan parallels. It's cool that like they're like working with him. I like that, like how that's a whole thing, and then he backstabs them. But like, I don't know. That's one thing I find a little bit weak. Like when Quinto yells out Khan, I'm like, why are you that mad at Khan? It's not really Khan's fault. I mean, yeah, it is Khan's fault, but like we stabbed Khan in the back first. you know. I mean, yeah, he also killed Pike, but like on that mission, we were like, "Fuck you, Khan," and then like, which I don't get how Scotty just kind of like totally screwed up watching him. But yeah, I have 5 more minutes to talk about this beautiful movie. The ending where it parallels Wrath of Khan, where it's like, you know, Kirk's, you know, dying. I think that was well done. Very well acted. They mirrored like dialogue, like he said, like you are because you're my friend, and like Spock finishes it. I do think that scene was done better in Wrath of Khan, obviously, because you know that's the most iconic Star Trek moment of all time. But yeah, I think this is just a fantastic movie. I love everything. It's hilarious. It's interesting. It's got a great villain. You know, the themes there's like loaded with themes about revenge and like, you know, what matters most and like, you know, like, oh man, I love this movie. And it's beautiful looking too. The special effects are amazing. Like the music, the dun 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 dun. Like, oh, I love everything about this movie. It's my favorite Star Trek movie. And this movie is the main reason why I think Star Trek movies, the new Star Trek movies, are better than the new Star Wars movies. What, Adam? You love Star Wars! I know, I said it. But that's honestly how I feel, though, because it's so fantastic. Like, this movie is amazing. 5 out of 5. Let me say that before it gets to 15 minutes. 5 out of 5 all the way. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't even think I put it on my top 10 list for 2013, though, because I was a fucking idiot. But yeah, I adore everything about this movie. Alice Eve is hot. She's literally in the movie just so, like, she can scream once, and so she can be naked for a scene. And, like, that's fine. What else is great about this movie? Just, like... everything. I love the part where like Scotty's like, no, you can't go into the thing, and then Kirk's like, we're not going into the thing, and punches him in the face so that he could sacrifice himself for everyone. I'm like, that's such a great character moment. That's why I think these movies are so much better than the new Star Wars movies. Is these movies are about the characters. Like, I don't care about the plot. The plot's great in this movie. Like, it's a really gray area where it's like, well, what do you believe in? And, like, what's right and what's wrong? You know, the greater good. And then, like, but it's really focused on, like, the relationships between these characters. And I adore that. That's first and foremost in this movie. And I love this movie. I love this movie. 5 out of 5. I feel like I'm just going to keep repeating how much I love it over and over again. So I'm going to end it up right about here. If I had to pick an order for ranking my Star Trek movies by favorites, I'm going to go Into Darkness, Star Trek, then Beyond, then Wrath of Khan, and then the motion picture. Sorry, all you old people that are like, but Adam, the classics are so good! Well, they're boring to me. And I love the new movies so much more. And they're fantastic, and they're better than Star Wars. The new Star Wars. Old Star Wars is the best. But yeah, Adam, let's see if your opinion's changed in 50 years. 50? You're not going to live that long. All right, what do they say in Star Trek? You are, and forever shall be, my friend. Live long and prosper. And then he dies. And that's how this review is going to die.